All right, guys, so we're going to be talking about entering boxing right now, okay? So basically, beginning boxing, how do you enter boxing or how do you start boxing is essentially where we're going in this particular, with what we're doing right now. So how do you enter boxing? Really simple. The first thing really that I like to teach in boxing really is footwork more than anything else. I think footwork is the foundation of boxing, right? So if you don't have good footwork, then your boxing is going to be clumsy and you're not going to be able to get in the positions that you need to. You're also not going to be able to get away from the person. When you're starting boxing, the really super basic part of boxing, or the basis, is you want to start off, like the way I like to teach it is we start off with our guard position first and our stance, okay? So first stance, we start off with our foundation, which is our legs. So how I like to do stance, and other people might have a little bit different way that they do it, but this is how I like to teach it. It kind of goes a little bit off of Bruce Lee, but some other things, some other people too. What we do is I typically tell the students to take one step forward and take a half a step and then turn your feet slightly in, okay? So I'll do it from the side here. So you basically take step one foot forward, take another half a foot step, and then you basically turn your feet in, just like that. Okay, so really feet in, to complete your stance, you want to bend your knees just slightly, okay? That way you can spring, you got movement here. So this allows you to get in a position where you can start moving, maybe back and forth and ducking and all that sort of thing. The next thing obviously is just your guard. You want to get your hands up. So some people will teach here where your guard is right under you're looking above your guard. Some people tell you to look through your guard. For me, it depends on the situation. Usually I start people off looking through their guard because it's a little bit better because you can cover easier if you're looking through your guard. You can come up and you can cover like this if you need to, particularly doing boxing. If you're looking down here like this, if a person's really fast, they can catch you before you have a chance to do this if you don't have good reflexes yet. So I usually tell people to start off in the beginning for starting off with our guard here, okay? Most boxing coaches I know, which I learned from a Golden Glove boxing coach when I was in the military, but most boxing coaches that I know, they usually will tell you to stay square, okay? That way when you're throwing your punches, you can turn your hip and create power, this twisting power that you get from your core and from your feet turning and pivoting so that you can hit, okay? So basic from here, if we talk about our footwork first, then what we're going to do is we're going to step with the front foot and then we're going to bring the back foot here. So what we're doing is we're keeping ourselves sideways and we're making sure that we stay on the same side so our feet don't get all crossed up. Because one of the worst, go ahead Luke, come on in here so I can show them real quick. But one thing that's really bad, that's not good when you're boxing, is if you're here like this, you don't want to cross your feet up, okay? So if I'm here and I go like this and I cross across my foot, if he punches while I'm in the middle of crossing across my foot, I'm going to be all kinds of out of whack. That can also affect your knees. You can hurt your knee doing that by that sort of thing. So it's very important to keep this open stance, and when you move, you never cross the foot in front. Not in boxing, actually. I don't do it in sparring or any of those typically, okay? So when we're here, you're going to step with that front leg, and then if you're going back, you're going to step with that back leg first and step back, okay? So entering the basics of boxing is the footwork, okay? We start from the footwork. We're going to step forward, bring our foot up, step backward, bring our front foot back, okay? Now we're learning a little bit on distance. So in this case, if he moves forward, this is just an example. If I move forward, he can move back. This is actually a kind of a game that we play whenever we're doing footwork drills. And it's basically one person will be the lead, and they'll basically control the distance. So if I step back, he steps forward. If I step back again, if I step forward, he steps back. I'm leading. And then if he switches and he's the lead, well, you don't have to switch stances. But if he goes forward, then I go back. If he goes back, then I go forward. The other thing that we personally do, most boxing coaches will not do this, okay? So the other thing that we'll do is we will switch leads, okay? We don't focus on someone just doing a standard lead, or we don't focus on anybody doing a southpaw. We like for you guys to be ambidextrous so that you can use both sides. So we'll do jab with your strong hand sometimes, then switch and jab with your left hand so that you can do both. All right, so after you understood basic footwork, okay, just how to move forward and backwards, the next thing we'll go to is just the punches, okay? So after you understand the footwork and the stance, I should say that too. But after you understand the footwork and the stance, then we can go into punches. Okay. So now from right here, if I'm going to throw a jab, so one of the things that I particularly show is you want that elbow down when you're throwing that jab and coming out, really leading with that hand, okay? So elbow down in a nice straight line. You also want to slightly move your shoulders. You don't want to move them too much, but just slightly shoulders moving. And you're going forward. I'm going to put this hand so you can see. So you're going forward with this shoulder and extending out. The other thing that your feet are doing, now we're adding the footwork in there with the punch. So now as I'm doing this, I'm coming up on this back foot so that I have the ability to reach and push and create that kinetic link all the way into that punch, okay? That gives me the power that I need when I'm pressing off the ground to punch, okay? Now this is basic, okay? There's all kinds of ways to create power, okay? This is just one of them. You're using torque and pushing off the ground and hitting, okay? And make sure you're keeping that elbow down, so the elbow should not come up like this, okay? That's a lot of people, I see them do that. They'll go to punch and they'll do this. But what you want to do in boxing is you want it to go straight. That way it's harder to see, right? It's a lot easier to see this than it is to see this. And it's also quicker, smoother, so it'll come out a lot faster. So if we're here like this, now he gives me a jab, good. Go ahead and jab here, he gives me a jab, good. Then he can hold up his backhand, and I can give him a jab, just like that, and then I can hold up mine. And this way he can kind of practice coming up on that back foot, like that, and I can practice, and this is something that you can do, just kind of practicing. Now, in the beginning, we always want to do this really soft, okay, starting off. I say that now because if someone is learning boxing, they're like, okay, friend, hold this, and they go, and they don't know their own strength, you're going to hit your partner, and then you won't have a partner anymore because they're not going to want to box with you. So you always start really soft or get a lot of distance. Get a lot of distance so you can just barely touch. And then here, you can just barely, yeah, it's just like that. So start off that way so that the person gets used to viewing this person's hand coming out, and I'm getting enough distance here so he can see it, and then I go here and I can see it. Now I'm used to seeing that punch coming toward me, and then I can start, we can get into guarding and parrying and all that stuff later. Okay, but from right here, that's what we're doing. We're just practicing that jab. Now, the next one we like to do, obviously, is the cross, right? Okay, so on the cross, you're going to go, again, with that back foot. You're turning, shoulder, hip, and bottom, and you're pivoting on the ball of your foot. So it's all this is what your cross is here. Okay, weights coming down on this foot, the front foot. And you're turning with your shoulder and you're punching out, so cross is here. You're also, what I like to tell them is sink just a little bit, because that lets you dig into the ground a little. So you're coming here with your cross, right? And this is a way that you can practice slow with your partner so they can kind of see the cross coming, just like that. And that will help them to visualize the cross, and that'll help you to kind of aim and see where your hand is going whenever you're punching, that it's going in a straight line, it's not going wobbly like this as you punch. So you can basically do that as a drill back and forth, make sure you have enough distance. And maybe I go like this, and then he goes, and then I go, and then he goes, come back a little bit too much, too close. And then I go, and then he goes, yes, just like that, perfect, okay? So you want to be nice and not too close to where you accidentally hit your partner. because then your partner doesn't want to do anything with you again if you accidentally hit him. So always starting off with a good amount of distance, going slow, training those. Now, after you get used to it, you just keep that distance, same distance, and now we'll start going faster. No, too close. Don't do that. Okay? So from here, and then he goes, yes, and then I go. And he goes, and I go. Good, and I'm kind of covering as I do this. Then he goes, and you just go back and forth, okay? Just like that. And you can switch legs if you want to do the opposite side, or you can just stay on if you want to be traditional boxing, then you can just stay on left lead. Otherwise, if you want to do southpaw, you can switch and do it on the other side. That's just what we do because I like to train on both sides. Okay, so after you've got that cross down, you guys have been working on that, and you're able to move with it and punch. The next part that we go into, instead of starting to go into hooks and all that other stuff, what we do is go into the parries now, okay? So with the jab, if he's going to come in and jab, I'm going to use my front hand to parry his jab, okay? Yes, that's good. Okay, so if he's going to, if he's going to jab, I'm going to use my back hand because he's on the same side as me. So he's doing left lead, I'm doing left lead, so I'm going to use the back hand. The reason why I'm going to use the back hand is because I always want to go to the outside starting off. Okay, this is his outside. Here, turn this way. This is his outside. This is his inside, right? So what I always want to do is, if I'm parrying his punch, I want to go to the outside of him. Okay? That gives me the ability to come off. I'm out of the danger zone, if that makes sense, okay? If I'm here like this and I parry on the inside, then, yeah, I come right into another punch, okay? So from here, I want to parry to the outside, okay? Then if I want to throw other strikes, I can start practicing to do that. But for right now, if we're just doing the parries, he's going to punch, I'm going to parry like this. And then he's going to come back, and I'm going to punch, he's going to parry with that back hand and move to the side, just like so, okay? We're going to do it one more time. You punch, I parry, okay? Then I'm going to punch, he parries, okay? And if you notice, when he's parrying, that back hand, he's moving here, right? Let me get on the right side. So he's going here. Either side is the same thing. So I'm here, I'm slightly dropping this hand, and I'm coming to the outside like this, okay? Now I'm going to the outside of him so he can't throw a punch on this side. He can only throw a punch with the other hand on this side, right? So that's why I say go to the outside. It's so much better for you as far as keeping away from the danger zone. Okay, so for here, same thing. He goes to punch, I parry, I go to punch, he parries, okay? And this is a really easy, and as you get good at this, as your visual sensitivity and your awareness goes up, you can start going a little bit faster. I can start going a little bit faster. And you just take your time and build up your awareness. Okay? Just like that. I didn't see him. You can do it as a drill. Now we're just kind of doing it as a drill right now, right? Okay, but you can do that. You can start to build up that awareness. And if you notice, as we're moving, I'm shifting my weight from one leg to the other, okay, as I move. So when he comes in, I'm shifting back to parry this. See, I'm shifting my weight onto this leg here. And then as I move forward, he's doing the same thing, shifting back his weight onto that leg. What that does is allow him to be able to come back really quickly. It also obviously gives him space so he can, keep away from my long-reaching punch. I can't reach him even if I try. Yes, sir. I have to throw myself off balance to be able to reach him, which I still wouldn't reach him if I did that. So switching your weight as you do it, go from one foot to the other and changing your hands, just like so. What that'll do is, again, it allows you to get into the feeling of moving your weight back and forth. Another thing with the footwork of boxer is we're talking about what we call bouncing, right? Which we're kind of getting into now. So if I go like this is kind of how a boxer bounces back and forth, right? They'll go from one foot to the other foot, okay? So typically you'll see boxers do this, and then sometimes they'll do what I call Taekwondo footwork, and sometimes they'll just bounce with both feet, okay? If you ever see a really, really sharp boxer, you'll notice little points where they actually do more like Taekwondo footwork, which is this. You're bouncing on both feet like this. This is more like the Olympic style Taekwondo where they and they go and they start kicking from there, right? So, but the footwork is very good. It works really well where you're just bouncing around, but it's very tiring doing that for most people. So in boxing, you're loading as you're going from one foot to the other like this. In Taekwondo, this is mainly just for moving so that you can switch to kick. But in boxing, you're not really looking to switch like that to kick or anything, or switch like that to hit. What you're looking to do is move the body. Whether you're parrying, you're striking, right? You're switching where your weight is going, and you're constantly switching. If you've ever seen Mike Tyson, how he comes up when he's walking up, he literally, his peekaboo style is literally, he's basically coming like this, and he's just coming toward that person, okay, as he's throwing strikes and different things. So he's doing the same thing. He's switching from one leg to the other, and he's just going weight to weight to weight and shifting weight. So in boxing, you're always going back and forth like this. Okay, so now if he gives me a cross instead of that, I'm going to go with my front hand, okay? So again, the reason why I want to do this, move this way a little bit. The reason why I want to do this is because I want to go to the outside of it. So he throws across, I'm coming here, okay? Which allows me again to start to attack here or move to the side and come into his outside. Gets me away from that other hand so he can't throw that punch very easily, right? Okay, so now we can do kind of sort of the same thing. Let's just okay, so from right here, if I throw, notice I'm going slow, and then you can throw one like this, and then I can come, and then you can throw. Notice I'm moving back, and if you can see the footwork, scoot back just a little bit, you should be able to see it. But as he throws that punch, I'm going to move back, and then I'm going to come in. Notice my footwork. I'm switching my footwork. Okay, it's almost like I'm going from one foot to the other, but I'm obviously not picking my foot up off the ground. I'm just coming here, lighter foot here, lighter foot here. Like that. Now we want to make sure we have room as we do this. When you first start off, you want to have distance. That's really, really important. You don't want to start this off right here and then punch, and this person doesn't have control and they knock you out, and you're just like, well, we're not doing this ever again, okay? So the way you keep doing it is that's what you're going to do. And as you do this too, you always want to aim directly for their center, right? We have the idea that we have an imaginary center line. You always aim your punch. The center really is those two knuckles, those first two knuckles, but you're aiming it for the center line, okay? So as I'm punching at him, I'm not aiming over here, I'm not aiming over here. I'm literally just like this. I'm literally, as I punch, I'm aiming for the center of him. Right? So he goes. What that does is teach you correctly how to do this right, okay? So that's another drill, doing that front hand. So you're doing the same thing, you're just using the front hand. All right, now what we can do is we can go into just a real basic. This is going to be the last one I want to do. It shows the hook. I don't know that I want to show the uppercut, but we might do it anyway. So the hook punch. So we're here like this. We're closed. You can even be like this, but I like to, when I do hook, I like to do here, okay? So I'm looking over my gloves here. And what I want to do is I want to start by throwing my shoulder of the opposite hand that I'm going to throw the hook with forward. Then I'm going to bring my elbow up just a hair with the other hand. And then when I do a hook, I'm going to rotate, turn, and punch with that hand, and that's the hook. Now, when I'm first teaching this move, I don't ever teach a full hook like I just showed you. What I normally do is tell the person to start like this, okay? This is super basic, and it teaches the mechanics, okay, and the structure and the form of what a hook is supposed to look like and what it's supposed to do, but it teaches the mechanics really well. So we go here, and we shift onto our other leg, and we turn the head. And that's all I teach them, because they have to understand that a hook comes from your hip and not from your arms. Otherwise, people do this, and that's not a hook. It's very weak. Okay, so from right here, shoulder comes forward, arm comes out just a little bit, and then I'm going to turn, and I'm going to bring this forward at this angle and slightly hook in. That's a true hook. That's actually how you do a true hook. And you can do it, some people like to do the hook this way, okay, instead of doing it vertical. Just my preference. I like punching a vertical fist with a hook. I just like it better. But a lot of people will throw their hook here, like this, okay? But the motion is exactly the same. There's not really much of a difference between this and this. The hooking motion is the same, okay? So the idea, again, turn, open up, hook in, okay? And that's gonna use all your torque and all your body weight to hook. And then when you finish with the hook, so this is another thing that people will do wrong, is they'll throw the hook and they'll swing it too far. Then you're wide open right here, okay? So you always wanna finish your hook in where you're still looking. That way, if they're still attacking, you can still come up and you can still see them to continue to move and do whatever you need to do. Okay, so now we'll do the hook drill. Okay, so this is a little bit different. So on this one, what he's gonna do is he's gonna throw a hook with his front hand. We're just do front hand. So he'll do hook with the front hand. And I'm going to cover with my back hand like so. And then after that, I'm going to follow up by throwing a hook with mine, and he's going to cover, okay? Notice, when you do this, you don't want to take the hook, so give me a strong hook real quick. I don't want to go like this. I want to force against that hook and like take it. What I want to do is I want to, as much as possible, have him more glance off of it. So throw the hook one more time. No, hit me. See, just like that, okay? Just like that. Where if he were to throw a strong hit, it just barely taps me. I barely even feel anything, okay? But that's what we're trying to achieve with it. You don't start off that way, even though that'd be great if you could, but you want to start off slow. No, slow. This is how you do it with your partner starting off. Nice and slow so your partner doesn't hurt you and you don't hurt them. Okay? Because you can, if you start off striking hard because you want to be real, you want this to be real, if you do that, the problem is you guys are going to have hurting joints, you're going to have issues with, you get all kinds of things, all kinds of physical issues that can happen when you're hitting someone with a lot of power, okay? Especially when you're uncontrolled, right? So there's all kinds of ways that you can hurt somebody doing that. And when that happens, obviously your partner doesn't want to play anymore, and neither will you, okay? Then you'll be like, well, I did that boxing stuff, but I didn't like it. No, it's not that you didn't like it, it's that you didn't do it right, so you got hurt, so now you don't want to do it anymore. So it's important not to be so real in the beginning and be more safe so you can enjoy it, okay? The way that we learn, we enter into play, okay? The way that we enter into learning is to play. Does that make sense? That's how we enter into learning, since we're talking about entering, is to play. If we play, the more we can get a serious or a purposeful play, the better we're going to engage and the longer we're going to do what we're trying to do or what we're doing, okay? So from right here, same thing, okay? He's coming in, I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to go right with it. Come here, notice he goes right with it. And then obviously we can switch, okay? So we can change stances if we want to and do the same thing, okay? Come here, Good. Just like that, okay? So those are basically our 3 basic drills that we do as far as boxing starting off, and then with the footwork drill. Now, the only have to do for basics, okay, which is ducking and kind of evasion, right? So, which I really like. That's one of my favorite things about boxing, is evasion. Okay, so from right here, there's a couple of different type of evading tactics that you can use. One of them, obviously, is what I call just my personal, how I like to define it. But from right here, you're coming here like this, and you're just coming across, okay? And this, when you do this, you can move forward too if you know how to do that, but you're always keeping your hand up. So from right here, starting off though, you're going to move to the side like so, okay? And it resembles kind of, give me a number one. It resembles doing this, except as he comes in, now what you're doing is you're just slipping. Does that make sense? I'll just use slipping. Okay, but you're slipping to the side. So we're here, and you're coming here, okay? Now your partner's gonna do it really slow. They're gonna still aim for, what I like to do is have students aim for the forehead. That way you don't accidentally tap them in the nose or in the teeth or something like that. But if they aim for the forehead, then the forehead's not that bad if you barely touch it, right? So right here, he's gonna aim for my forehead, and I'm just gonna move just like so. So he aims for the forehead, I'm just gonna move. And you really don't have to move that fast. You do sometimes have to move fast depending on the person. But if I'm right here and he punches, see? Okay, switch sides. Okay, if I'm right here and he punches, all I need to do is move just a little bit. I really don't have to move. Now in the beginning, I don't have to move that much. Now in the beginning, you're going to want to move a lot. Okay, it's just natural. So we're here, most people, they move way out here, okay, in the beginning. But when you get used to this, you just move a little bit because you know you can get in there quickly if you move just a little bit. So if you can, in the beginning, practice to move just out of the way, not too far and not enough. So just enough out of the way. Good, and just whenever he goes, right? Good, and then change up the tempo. Good. Good, and the rhythm. Change up the rhythm. So real simple. So that's a basic way you can kind of practice that, is you're just moving to the side from this way. Okay, same thing. See how I'm moving? Just out of the way. I was making sure he's punching at me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you go. Okay, go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes. See, I'm making sure. So this is another thing that you can do if you know your partner has control. You don't want to do it if your partner's coming at you fast and trying to be real, okay, quotation marks. But if they can control and go kind of slow, then you can actually kind of test them and making sure, you can put your hands up too if you want to, but kind of test and make sure they're aiming for your head, your forehead, and not just being nice and punching to the side, because that's really bad training. It does not help you if your partner punches away from what you're doing, right? So if I'm here, I want to make sure that he's hitting right from my forehead, go ahead again, like that. Okay, so go ahead and hit my forehead again. See? So he didn't know I was going to move that time. But if you do that, then you actually will really learn how to be able to move, and you can visualize it, and you can see, you get that visual sensitivity on how to move out of the way. Good, change it. Good, okay. So notice I'm having him changing speed, and then I'm also having him change rhythm. Now what's the difference between them, ready? So if I'm here like this, speed would just be easy. That's easy, everybody knows that. If I go like this, then I go like this. See, I slow down. Then I go like this. Then I go like this. Then I start fast and go slow. Then I start slow and go fast. Do you see what I'm saying? Those are things that you can practice. Believe it or not, that helps with your sparring too, because then you'll start doing it on sparring automatically, and your sparring gets really good when you do that automatically, because it messes someone. What people need to do is get used to the speed and your rhythm. Once they get used to your speed and your rhythm, then they can just kind of go off of that, right? But if you change it up, it makes it a lot harder for that person to be able to deal with you if you're actually going towards sparring in a ring, if that makes sense, okay? But with your partner, you don't want to just be, practicing it to where you're making hard contact with your partner. We already talked about that. Okay, so right here, Just like that. Now, rhythm would be the beat, okay, the timing that you hit. If I go, if I'm constantly doing that, he's gonna now know exactly what I'm doing, right? So if I go, it's the same rhythm. He knows what I'm gonna punch, okay? Every time. But if I go like this, see? I changed the rhythm up. I didn't change speed. The speed is exactly the same. What I did was change the timing, okay? So this is the other thing when you're getting into boxing and you're starting off learning. Start learning timing early. Start learning how to train it and drill it early like this, so that when you start getting really good, this will be a natural thing, and that just makes your boxing go up a whole nother level when you can do that, okay? So come in here, come in here. Okay, I'm changing that up, and then obviously you can come in with the cross, right? And you can come in with the jabs, right? You can double jab, okay? And so all of these, now if someone's double jabbing you, so just so you guys know, if he's double jabbing me, if I'm gonna enter, I don't always just pat that one. I might go back on the first one and tap the second one and be able to enter in as far as that's concerned. So I can do that. So that's a basic way of learning how to enter. But your jab though is one way that you can get in, start to move the person back, get them worried about your jab, and then you can throw your cross. It's super basic 101 boxing, right? So he comes in, jab, and I can evade it, and we can just do that double jab. Just have to do, right? That's okay. Maybe he comes in and I come back. I might come back like that. Or maybe he comes in and I go in like that. I mean, those are things that you can start to work on once you get the movement down and you feel pretty solid moving around and doing your jabs and stuff like that. Then obviously you can start adding in the hook, right? So he can come in, right? Now, if you're going to do, so defending or evading on a hook punch, one of the things that I like to do, which is the basic bob and weave, you're just rolling. Yes, sir. Coming down and rolling out. You don't want to come down too low, by the way. Okay? So when you're coming down, you don't want to come down here. Kickboxers will tell you the reason why you don't want to do that. Or Muay Thai fighters will tell you why you don't want to do that. So from right here, I just want to get, if he's going to throw a hook punch, right? I just want to get just out of the way. Just like so, as much as possible. If I go too low, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go too low, like this. So I'm too close to his feet. If he decides to move real fast, what do you think is going to happen, right? I'm here, I come down, and he moves real fast, right? So what I want to do is just get just under it, okay? As much as possible, I'm coming right under his punch. And there's a couple other things we can add. I don't think I would really want to get into it, but you can do things like this, where you crouch back, and that gives you the space to move in. You see me pull back just a little bit. I'm kind of coming in on myself like that, so I can jump forward. Okay, there's things like that that you can also add in as you're going. Again, how good this person is and your own ability to move really well is really what makes the difference out of everything, okay? This person's very aware and very good at moving and following somebody with punches, then it makes it a lot harder to, right? He goes through up here, and then I come back, yeah, it's gonna make it harder for me to go back in. And some people, so if I'm here and I do my hook punch on him and he evades, right? And I'm good at finding the person as they evade, I'll just continue, right? Even if he does it fast. So if I'm here and I do it fast. You see what I'm saying? If I'm aware of how he's going to move, right? And this comes back to someone kind of figuring you out as you're boxing. So these are things that you can kind of think of as far as when you're entering boxing. Again, don't start off, let me say this, don't start off sparring. I know people are going to be like, oh, what? You have to spar. That's the only way it's real. But if you start off sparring with somebody that's not trained, let me put it that way. You can spar somebody who's really good and trained, that'll be good for you, because if you start getting rough on them, then they can just knock you out. Then you can be done. But if you have somebody that's not very good, it'll just turn into kind of like a brawl, and then you guys will quit because you won't want to do it anymore, or you'll shake hands and keep going, depending on the person in that case. But most people will just quit once they get hurt, or once it turns into something it's not supposed to. So just remember, boxing is a sport, and it's a friendly sport, really. Even though people see people hit each other, it's about the ability to move. It's the art of the movement, being able to move and stick and find where you're hitting, find your targets, okay? And being able to move out of the way and have that control, and being able to connect with that person. So that's really what, to me, when I look at boxing, when I see boxing, and what I understand about boxing, is that it's that ability to connect. Anybody that's really good at boxing is excellent at that. They figured their partner out. What they've actually done, if they figured them out, is they've connected with their partner. In other words, they're in a sense one with that person's movement. So if I go like this and he's aware of my movement, yeah, he can just pick his shots anytime. If he knows what I'm going to do, he's just, or if it's vice versa, if I know what he's going to do, I can just pick my shots. And I can just stand here and just kind of. So if I'm completely connected now, we're just kind of going back and forth. But if you've seen someone that's really good and they're just standing back there, right? And that's because they've connected with that person. They're aware of their movement, okay? And they're kind of one with their movement, if that makes sense. Okay.